Hi friends, my name is Miss Jackie and I'm the Children's Programming Coordinator for Charleston County Public Library. I want to welcome you to Kindergarten Boot Camp. This is a program that is for parents and caregivers of children who are getting ready to go into kindergarten. Each program we focus on a different early literacy skill that gets your child ready for kindergarten. So today we are going to be talking all about numbers and counting. So the information that I'm using for this program is all based on Every Child Ready to Read, the early literacy initiative developed by American Library Association, as well as some online educational resources. So when your child is getting ready to go to kindergarten, they may be expected to count to 10, have number recognition, and so I am going to be focusing on some different skills, some fun activities and games that you can do at home that are super easy and with probably things that you already have in your house. So the first thing that I want to talk about is something called one-to-one correspondence. What is one-to-one correspondence? Well, this involves counting an object in a set once and touching this object when you are counting it. You're only going to count it once and you're going to touch it once. One-to-one correspondence. So, for example, I have 3 plastic eggs. You would ask your child to count the plastic eggs. They're going to touch each one and count. 1, 2, 3. There's 3 plastic eggs. That is one-to-one correspondence. They're touching the object and they're counting it. And they're counting it only once. Now, counting also involves memorizing numbers in number words in the order that they fall. So for instance, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Children can learn number names as well as recognizing the number symbol. So we know that they know the names of numbers, but then there's also the symbols of numbers as well. So you might see that in a counting book, such as this one that we have at the library. So this book, Big Fat Hen, it goes along with that famous rhyme that you probably know, 1, 2, buckle my shoe, 3, 4, shut the door. So there you can see the numbers 1 and 2, and then 3, 4. So this is a great counting book that you can use with your child. You can have them count the different objects that they see in the book, and if you're interested in more counting books and number books, you can just stop by your local Charleston County Public Library and our friendly children's librarians would be happy to help you find more. So let's talk about some fun activities that you can do with your child to get them ready when they go to kindergarten so that they're ready to count, ready to know all of those numbers and work on their math skills. So having a solid understanding of numbers and what they represent is one of the key building blocks of strong math skills. So this is a key component of math success. So that's why we are here today to talk with you about counting and numbers and one-to-one correspondence. So one thing that you can do, families, is to count whenever you have a chance. So if you're walking up the steps, have your child count each step that they're taking. Each time their foot touches one of those steps, have them count 1, 2, 3. That is one-to-one correspondence. Their foot is touching the ground step, and they're counting that number of steps. They can put those. They can correlate those two things. And they're also using their whole body, so that's great too, because it's more of a whole body, whole movement activity versus just looking at an object. Another activity when you're making lunch, if you're giving them crackers, you can have them count each one that is put onto their plate. That's one-to-one correspondence. They can count their toys. So there's lots of different ways that you can tie counting in throughout your day. But the key that we know, as I talked about, is having that one-to-one correspondence. So we know that a child would understand, say, if they had 2 cookies, or if they had, I'm going to use my eggs as an example again. Here is 1, 2. They know there's 2 eggs, but then they also understand that these 2 eggs represents this number symbol 2. So 2 equals 2. These are the same. And the same, for example, if we had 3 popsicle sticks. 3 popsicle sticks, we can count them, touch them, 1, 2, 3, and those 3 sticks equals the number symbol 3. So many children, as we know, have memorized their numbers in order, but sometimes they don't understand the concept of one-to-one correspondence. So for example, they might have, I'm going to have how many of these sticks? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's not right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's not right, is it? So they might skip a number that they count, or they might count an object twice, but really there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So kids that have not yet developed that understanding of that one-to-one correspondence might have a harder time with that. So just have to work with them a little bit more and get them to understand that they not just are memorizing the numbers, but having that recognition of touching and counting each object. Okay, so we know that we want to give kids many opportunities to practice that one number is one object. Okay, so here I'm going to share some simple ways that you can help support the development of one-to-one correspondence and counting with your child. So one thing that you can do, let's see, I've got lots of fun stuff with me here today. So I have some different objects. Let's start with, I'm going to use my eggs again just because they're easy. So I'm going to move my tray out of the way. So I have my eggs. I'm going to put them in front of me like this. And like I said, you can have them touch the objects and count them. And so we say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 eggs. The other way that you can do it is you can have them move the eggs as they count them. So move them forward. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 eggs. So they've actually touched them, they've moved them, so they know they've counted them. So as your child is counting, you can ask them questions like, how will you keep track of the ones you've counted? Or how will you keep track of the ones that you haven't counted? So just so that they can think and figure out, oh, this is how I'm counting my numbers or the objects, and that one-to-one correspondence. Okay, so some other activities that you can do, maybe in the kitchen while you're cooking with your child, you can involve them with that activity, and you can say, bring me 3 tomatoes for our salad, or count how many rolls we have for dinner tonight. So making sure that they're counting that one-to-one each object that's another great activity that you can do in your day-to-day. It doesn't have to be sitting down and practicing flashcards. Like, make it fun, make it engaging, and kids won't even realize that they're doing math. Okay, so another fun activity that you can do is that you can play different games such as hopscotch. So remember, I talked about when you walk up the steps, the child is using their whole body. That's the same thing with hopscotch. You have the different numbers on the ground, 1 through 10, and kids are hopping, using their whole body to count the different numbers. And you're also teaching them ascending and descending. So that's another great activity that you can do with your child that teaches them counting. So this activity that is super fun, you can use a cupcake pan, and I just have cupcake liners, and inside, I just went up to number 10. You can do, and I wrote all of the numbers 1 through 10 inside of the cupcake liners. So you can use an egg carton, you can use ice cube trays, you could use cups. You don't even need an actual pan. And so whatever you want, you could just use the cupcake liners. So for this game, we are going to, I have a dice, I have a big die. If you have a board game die, you can use that too. But you can have your child roll the dice. Ooh. And I landed on the number 1. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna have them count the number of dots on the die, or if they already know, but that 1, and then you are gonna have, I have some different plastic hearts. You can use cotton balls, you can use beads, you can use beans, you can use Cheerios, you can use anything that you have multiples of. So I landed on 1, so I am going to count out 1 heart, and I'm going to put it inside my cupcake liner that has the 1 heart. So we do that again, a roll. Ooh, this one I landed on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So then they can count out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 hearts, and here is my number 6. So I'm going to put them inside. And so this is a fun game that you can do together. You can play, take turns. Super fun and easy, and you probably have most of those things at home. Another activity that you can do is, if you have pipe cleaners, you can, I took just a piece of construction paper and I wrote the numbers 1, 2, no, okay, it's that 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so with this activity, you would have different, you just need some beads, and you can have your child pick the same color beads when they count these out. I would recommend doing that just because it's fun. You can have them do different patterns when they count them out, but for each number, so they're just going to do 1-to-1 correspondence, so they know that this is the number 1, so they're going to count out 1 bead, and this is 1 bead, and they're just going to string it onto their pipe cleaner. This is good for fine motor skills, which helps your child as they're getting ready to start writing. You really want to work on strengthening those hand muscles, so doing anything with fine motor skills is super important. So here's our number 2. So we're going to count out 1, 2 beads, and they're just going to string them onto our pipe cleaners. So this is another really super easy and fun counting game for your kids to do. Okay, so I also have a game that you can play, and this is with dominoes. So dominoes are super great to play with and use when you're teaching counting and numbers with kids. There's so many dots and numbers on these different tiles, and so what you're going to do with this game, you can either use, I made just little cards that have the numbers written on them, 1 to 10, and what you're going to do, you can use those, or if you have Uno is a great card game that has all the numbers on it, and they're in lots of different colors too, so that's a great skill for kids to work on, is counting, color recognition. So what you're gonna do is I'm just gonna put my cards, we'll just go 1, 2, 3, and how about 4? And so you can have your child, you can put all of the dominoes down on the table, and you can say, can you find the number 1 on the dominoes? Where is the number 1? And so they would look for the domino that just has 1 dot, and they would count it, 1, point to 1, and then they would put it down in front of their number 1. And then you can say, can you find number 2? So we know that number 2 looks like this. And so can you find the domino that has 2 dots? And so they would look and count and say 1, 2, and then they would put that domino down and match it with the card that has the number symbol 2. So, and the thing with dominoes is that some of them have 2, but just 1, 2 dots, versus the 2 dots on the one side of the square on the tile. So there's lots of different combinations that your child can find with the dominoes and play with. Okay, so I think we are wrapping up our activities. These are just a start to some of the different things that you can do with your child to get them ready for kindergarten and to help them understand one-to-one correspondence with counting. But I hope that you have enjoyed these activities, and I hope that you will tune in again when we have our next kindergarten boot camp. Thanks, friends. See you next time.